I know you came here for the story, and I promise to get straight to it. But first, you need to understand what the Harringtons thought they were buying. In the fall of 2019, Marcus and Sarah Harrington purchased a Victorian home in rural Connecticut for well below market value. The listing mentioned minor electrical issues, flickering lights, the occasional blown fuse. Nothing unusual for a house built in 1887. What the listing didn't mention was that the previous 3 families had each lasted less than 6 months. But this isn't a story about creaking floorboards or cold spots. This is about something that shouldn't be possible in a house that predates modern technology by nearly a century. This is about a digital haunting. The Harringtons moved in on October 12th. Marcus, a software engineer, and Sarah, a graphic designer, were exactly the kind of pragmatic, tech-savvy couple you'd least expect to report paranormal activity. They documented everything, initially for their home renovation blog. Those documents are now evidence in an ongoing investigation. The first incident occurred on day 3. Sarah was editing photos in their second-floor office when her computer screen went black. Not off, black, like someone had opened a solid black image file. Then, slowly, a single line of text appeared in white, centered on the screen. "Get out of MY house." She assumed it was malware. Marcus ran every diagnostic tool he had. The computer was clean. No viruses, no remote access, no explanation. They laughed it off. A glitch. Maybe a prank file left by the previous owner somehow. But the glitches continued, and they weren't random. Over the next 2 weeks, the messages became more frequent, more personal. Sarah's phone would display photos she'd never taken. Pictures of herself sleeping, taken from the corner of their bedroom. Marcus's laptop would open voice memos he'd never recorded, playing back his own conversations from hours earlier, conversations that had happened in rooms with no devices present. The messages always came through their devices, never handwritten, never spoken aloud, always digital. "I told you to leave. You don't belong here. This is MY house." Marcus, determined to find a logical explanation, installed a completely new network. New router, new modem, new devices fresh out of the box. He even built a computer from scratch, components he purchased himself, assembled in the house. Within an hour of powering it on, the screen flickered and a message appeared. "You can't keep me out." That's when they started researching the house's history. The home had been built by Thomas Wexler, a telegraph operator, one of the early pioneers of electrical communication in the region. Thomas had been obsessed with the idea that consciousness could be transmitted through electrical signals, that the human soul was nothing more than electrical impulses that could, theoretically, be captured, stored, and transmitted like any other data. His journals, which the Harringtons found in the Historical Society archives, were disturbing. In his final entries, dated March 1891, Thomas described building what he called a vessel, a complex arrangement of wiring throughout the house, designed to capture the essence at the moment of transition. Thomas Wexler died in the house on March 14, 1891. Cause of death, electrocution. His body was found in the basement, surrounded by copper wiring, his hands still gripping exposed cables. The Harringtons might have dismissed this as coincidence, except for what happened next. On November 2nd, exactly 3 weeks after moving in, every device in the house activated simultaneously. Laptops, phones, tablets, even their smart refrigerator, all displaying the same message: "You will see." Then Sarah's computer began playing a video file, not from the internet, not from any stored location Marcus could identify. The video showed their bedroom, filmed from the same corner where Sarah had seen the mysterious photos originating. But this was live. They could see themselves, standing in the office, watching the screen. Marcus checked the bedroom. There was no camera, no device, nothing. As they watched in horror, a figure began to materialize in the corner of the video feed. Not gradually, glitching into existence, pixelated at first, then rendering in higher and higher resolution. A man in Victorian-era clothing, his face a distorted mess of digital artifacts and corrupted data, and then, impossibly, the figure moved. It walked across the bedroom in the video, approaching the office door. They heard the footsteps in real time coming down the hallway. Sarah screamed. Marcus grabbed her hand. They ran. Didn't pack, didn't look back, just ran to their car and drove. They never returned to retrieve their belongings. That house stands empty now. The Harringtons filed a police report, handed over all their devices as evidence, and moved across the country. They refused to speak publicly about what happened. But here's what keeps me awake at night. Last month, Sarah received an email. The sender was listed as T. Wexler 1891, followed by a string of corrupted characters. The subject line read, "You will see." The body of the email was empty, except for an attachment, a video file she refuses to open. She's changed her email address 4 times since then. The messages keep finding her. Each one the same subject line, the same attachment, the same impossible sender. Thomas Wexler believed consciousness could live in electrical signals. Modern technology, our phones, our computers, our interconnected digital lives. They're all just sophisticated electrical systems. And if something, or someone, learned to exist within those signals over a century ago, before we even understood what we were building, well, then nowhere with a power outlet is truly safe. The question isn't whether a Victorian house can be haunted by something digital. The question is, if it learned to leave the house, to travel through our networks, our cloud storage, our devices, how would we ever know? How will we ever escape something that exists everywhere electricity flows? Sarah still gets those emails. And if Thomas Wexler really did find a way to preserve himself in the electrical fabric of reality, then he's had over a century to learn, to adapt, to spread. Check your devices tonight. Look for messages you don't remember receiving, photos you don't remember taking. And if you see something that doesn't belong, something addressed to you from someone who shouldn't exist, ask yourself, in our hyperconnected world, where exactly would you run?